Hello, I'm Bill Bullard with RCAF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. With a long-awaited solution that holds the most promise of quickly reversing the downward trajectory of the U.S. cattle industry was just reintroduced by U.S. Senators Charles Grassley from Iowa and Jon Tester from Montana. The bill restores competition in our industry's shrunken cash market. It's Senate Bill 949, and it's known as the Spot Market Protection Bill or the 5014 bill. So far, there are 7 bipartisan co-sponsors, not including Senators Grassley and Tester on the bill. The others include North Dakota Senator John Hoeven, Minnesota Senator Tina Smith, Iowa Senator Joni Ernst, Oregon Senator Ron Wyden, South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds, Montana Senator Steve Daines, and New Jersey Senator Cory Booker. So for the most part, the initial co-sponsors are from states with large numbers of cow-calf producers and stockers. But other than the 2 Iowa senators, there are no senators from the other big cattle feeding states. So why is that? Well, the Department of Justice provided an explanation back in 2008, when for the first time in nearly 100 years, it initiated an antitrust enforcement action in the beef packing industry by blocking Brazilian-owned JBS from purchasing National Beef Packing Company. Back then, the Department of Justice stated that the overwhelming majority of fed cattle slaughter occurs in just 5 states: Colorado, Western Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Texas. And these 5 states control about 3/4 of the fed cattle packing capacity and close to 80% of all feedlot cattle in the United States. This means those 5 cattle feeding states are also big beef packing states. And that means the packers enjoy tremendous economic and political power. Enough power to make sure their interests are well represented in Congress. Obviously, and fortunately for the nation's cow-calf producers, stockers, and independent feeders, Iowa is the exception. Now, Senate Bill 949 addresses the lack of competition in the fed cattle market head-on. It doesn't reward the powerful beef packing states that have already all but destroyed the cattle industry's most important cattle market. That's because it doesn't allow the states with the lowest cash market volumes to continue shunning the cash market and relying on the more responsible states like Iowa and Nebraska, where their many independent farmer feeders have worked hard to maintain the integrity of their cash market. Instead, Senate Bill 949 requires all beef packing states to pony up equally to restore robust competition in the critically important fed cattle market. It does this by requiring the largest beef packers to purchase at least 50% of their cattle each week from the competitive cash market for each of their plants. That means packers and feeders in the North are treated just the same as packers and feeders in the South. The previously introduced Fisher bill does not provide a solution for at least 2 more calving seasons, which is simply too little too late. And even after that time has passed, the Fisher bill would still allow cash market volumes to remain the same as the average over the previous 3 years. In other words, the Fisher bill is as likely as not to accomplish no changes during the next 5 years. It shouldn't surprise anyone that this is exactly what the powerful beef packers want. Everyone should look closely at the rationale being offered for requiring some states to have lower cash volumes than other states. The rationale is simply that right now, some states have lower cash volumes than others, and so it's somehow unfair to require those states that have not maintained the integrity of the cash market to suddenly begin contributing equally to price discovery that only the competitive cash market can provide for the entire industry. In other words, the rationale for setting different cash volumes in different states or regions based on where the respective cash market volume is today completely ignores the fact that the reason we have a nationwide problem caused by a lack of volume in the cash market is because only a handful of states have maintained their commitment to preserve the price discovery market. Why in the world would the industry support legislation that rewards those states that did not by holding them to a lower standard? Of all the proposals offered so far, only Senate Bill 949 offers a timely and meaningful solution, and every cattle producer should call their senators and their representatives right now to urge them to pass this legislation as quickly as possible. And please go to our Senate Bill 949 website or webpage at r-cafusa.com by clicking on the Learn More button under the heading Help Pass Senate Bill 949. With that, have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.